Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 4, I believe, and the topic of discussion today is going to be the success of Wonder Woman, and as you know, Wonder Woman just became the highest-grossing domestic DCEU film. And back with me today is some people who are you familiar with from the previous episodes, as well as someone new to the group. If you guys want to go ahead and reintroduce yourselves to the listeners.
Hi, Kate.
Sorry. Hello everyone, my name is Artyom. I'm Grey Kung Lao from Tumblr.
Okay, I'm Lily from Lily Loves Comics at Tumblr.
Oh hi, It's Fatma, all the way from the UK.
Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey, it's nice to finally have you here.
Time zones and work. Sorry about not being able to be there all the time.
Oh no, it's fine.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice to hear you join us as well.
Here you are.
I have to leave in a while though.
Oh no, that's fine. Don't worry about
No
it.
problem.
Yeah, same here. If anyone else is listening, I'm gonna have to say bye in a bit, but not too long.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Again, just thank you both for being here when you can. So, again, so this whole episode is going to be all about Wonder Woman, and everyone here has seen the movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
3 times.
3 times, yeah. I've seen it 3 times in theater now, too. It's honestly, I think at this point right now, I would say it's my favorite movie of the year.
Yeah, same here.
So far, Justice League.
Until Justice League.
Yeah,
Yeah, until Justice League, yeah. All right, so obviously, you
Talking
just
about
go ahead.
movie of the year because I think Justice League will like smash all the movies
Yeah,
I've had love for in a crazy way because of literally just Jason Momoa for some reason. And I'm a Batman fan. Batman is the one that got me into this, so yeah, I'm one of those typical nerd fans. But for some reason, as soon as Justice League was called and they cast Jason Momoa and seen him, you know, and how he's like the role, I've just fallen in love with him, and I think the dynamic of the Justice League match every single in my entire life. So
no, yeah, I feel the same
Batman
way.
is great,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure whether it'll be the absolute best of the year because November's still there. But so far, it's a great movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it really is, and that's why I'm not surprised by the success of Wonder Woman because it resonates with so many people. I mean, granted, I love Batman vs Superman. I think a lot of us here do, but Wonder Woman is a different kind of movie where it was the first of its kind, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it was the first female-led comic book or big blockbuster movie. And a lot of people, a lot of family members of mine and people I know have been waiting for a Wonder Woman or just a female-led superhero movie for a long time. So for a lot of them, this is kind of like a multi-generational kind of movie where all different kinds of people wanted to see this, and we're looking forward to seeing this. So I'm not surprised by its success at all. I think it's really well deserved, and I don't even care that it just went over Batman vs Superman because I think it's a more important film than Batman vs Superman in that aspect. Yeah. So for me, I loved it.
The one thing that's absolutely great about the success of this movie is the fact that now that it paves way for more female movies and more movies that are that have leads of POC, and I just think it's really great, especially because I'm a huge fan of Jessica Cruz from the Green Lanterns.
Oh yeah,
and
yep.
If that happens, that would make my day. Or if they have a team up movie between Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz.
Oh, I'd love to see Jessica Cruz. That'd be great.
And especially if you look at that new DCEU intro, I think you see Jessica Cruz in there.
Yes, she's there.
Yeah, I love it.
It'd be so great if they did a team up with Simon Baz as well, because then you've got
I love him too.
the Latina theme. Am I okay to say Latina? Is that?
Yeah, no, that's not offensive. You can totally say it. I'm Latina, so it's
oh right, okay. So you've got the Latino woman, and then you have the Arab Muslim superhero. So it's like the best representation. They're both such a great They have such great dynamic between them. Because I'm following the current comics that are out, written by Sam Humphries from the Rebirth series.
I've been reading them too.
It's amazing, isn't it, Lily?
Yeah, it is.
It's really so well written, and the dynamic is just brilliant.
She's so relatable. That's what I really like about her, and I want to see that in action,
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman and all the other movies, and like you now have Jason Momoa, who's what's Jason Momoa?
He's a
Hawaiian.
Pacific Islander,
He's
yeah.
Something like that.
And then you have all of these different backgrounds, and they're so well loved, and so Sorry, baby. Sorry, that's my baby brother.
Oh no, that's fine.
There it is. There.
Aw.
Do you like Batman? And Aquaman? He's a superhero fan as well, just like me.
Aw. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great step forward, and I'm very glad that DC has done it because it's a great thing for the DC universe.
It really
Sorry,
is.
I'm taking this over.
And that's what, like, again, like, I think you're right, and, like, Wonder Woman's gonna open those doors for all these different kinds of stories to be told. And, like, and I think now, like, especially now, like, looking at, like, with, not even just with DC, but, like, Marvel's finally doing Captain Marvel, and, like, Disney's bringing in more, like, female directors and stuff for their movies. So I think, like, this movie in general, I think is super important in that aspect.
To each step forward.
Yeah. And to have a movie, and especially for, like, and I think we kind of touched on this briefly in one of the last episodes, and especially in Wonder Woman, you have, the chief character played by Eugene Braverock, and then you had Adam Beach in Suicide Squad. That's two Native American characters and two Native American actors in movies back to back. And I think, like, because you don't see very many, Native American actors or characters in media in general these days. So to see that, that's just, I think that despite what anyone says about the DCEU, I think diversity is one of their strong points because it's reaching so many different people and they're being so much more inclusive than other properties.
Yep.
Right. That's true.
I think I was having something.
Yes, and it's funny, we're talking about Wonder Woman right now. And like Wonder Woman like just leaked online the other day.
Yeah, we noticed all these high quality gifts, and it was like, oh,
I know, because
wow, leaked somewhere. Nice.
Yeah, it's funny because like I was on Tumblr, I'm like, wait a minute, like where are all these HD gifts coming from? And I'm like,
exactly, boy, that looks really nice.
Movie in HD is online, isn't it now?
Yep, it's all. It's pretty much HD, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good quality
with Korean subtitles.
Yeah, it's Korean subtitles.
Really?
No, like I'm not like a huge torrent person, or like I like to watch movies illegally, but like I've seen Wonder Woman 3 times, and I couldn't wait to watch it again. So of course I downloaded it.
Yeah.
And it's still like I still find something little, much like with Batman vs Superman. I find something enjoyable in every time I view it.
Yeah, I've been noticing that too.
Yeah, and especially like go ahead.
About DCU, the more you watch them, the more you like them, and the more new stuff you might find every time you watch them.
Has anyone gotten the Wonder Woman art book yet?
No. I want to, but I'm so tight on money.
Yeah, on my list.
Yeah,
I want to get it so bad.
Yeah, in terms of like how much detail it goes into about like the movie's process and stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because at my work right now, because I work in a pharmacy, and like right in front of our pharmacy is like we have like a magazine rack, and the one magazine everyone's been picking up is like the Wonder Woman edition of Entertainment Weekly. It's all talking about Wonder Woman and her history.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and like and I've been wanting to buy it, but like I'm literally always seeing it on the shelf, and people are always picking it up. And like again, there was a show that and like anytime people pick it up, I start a conversation about them. Like, oh, have you seen the movie? What did you think? Blah blah blah. And so it's just like I'm just promoting customer service as well as geeking out over one of my favorite movies.
Right, that's the best of both worlds, man.
Yeah,
it's really exciting. I don't know. We've said a lot. I don't know. I feel like I've talked a lot, so I've run out of things to say. But at the same time, like this particular movie, I'm most impressed with because often it's not like we've never seen a movie with a female protagonist before. Comic-wise, it's fairly rare, but typically we end up seeing them kind of on this is gonna sound weird, but they're on a male journey. They're on a male gaze journey.
Yep.
Like
a little
they're
more
a woman,
sexualized,
but they're seriously kick butt and can kill everybody and stuff like that, and they're out for revenge or whatever, and none of that is bad. I personally like a good revenge story. Like, you know what I mean? I can get into a man's story just as easy. That doesn't bother me, but I was really impressed with how they approached it with the fact that, okay, this is Diana Prince and she's an Amazon, but this is not her goal to go out and kick everybody's butt and just make them listen to her. You know, like even in the very beginning, she wanted to stop the war, but it wasn't, we'll just go kick the crap out of all the Germans and everybody. It was, all right, we'll go stop Ares, and that'll fix everything. The fact that they came at it from such a perspective, and the fact that they weren't shy about the fact that she feels empathy for the people, that she's compassionate, that in the end she chose love overall. You know, I'm always going to come back to Patty saying, you know, the word cheesy doesn't exist in my universe, you know,
Yep.
But it's true. And that was one of the things that made me the happiest to see this movie portrayed the way it was. There was nothing wrong with her being a woman who had feelings and who was compassionate for other people and who saw good things in positive emotions like love. You know, and that really makes me happy, because the day and age we're in, that's actually fairly rare. And typically, I would expect that to get really bagged on and torn down. You know, very much like a Martha moment in Batman versus Superman, which I thought was beautiful. But some people just feel the need to rag on. You know, and so I'm kind of shocked and amazed that this movie has come so far and done so well, with all of these wonderful positive things being radiated through it. You know, it's just, it tells me that the world is kind of hungry for that kind of thing, and they're not getting it. So when they finally see it for once, they're like, holy crap, that's awesome, we should have that, you know. And it's really nice to see that response on this movie. That makes me happy. So Patty's done good things.
She really has.
Yeah, she has.
The thing I like about Wonder Woman and DCU in general is that they're trying to tell a story about how possible meets the impossible, where impossible are comic book characters and possible is a world that is very close to our reality, especially in the meaning of perception. And so the movie Wonder Woman, as like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, is trying to answer the question, can heroism exist under the pressure of harsh reality like ours? And we see these characters endure witnessing the worst of humanity and still coming on top and cherishing the beautiful things. This is why my most favorite scene in Wonder Woman is when Steve and Diana were dancing and Steve were trying to explain what people are doing outside of war. Like, you know, simple things like making families, falling in love. It's these little moments, these little parts of human life is what makes it such a joy to live. No, at least from Steve's perspective.
Yes.
It was beautiful. As you said, it was beautiful that Diana chose love above everything else, even though she witnessed, like, literally one of the worst things that humanity can offer, which is war in general. And yet she, thanks to Steve, she witnessed the good things as well, and she decided that the good things overshadows the dark ones, and she chooses humanity, pretty much like Superman did.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Well said.
Yeah, that was really well said.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, especially after watching the movie so many times now, and just even like the smaller moments with the characters of Samir and Charlie and Chief, like when
I love them.
When Diana's talking to Samir and he's talking about how like everyone has their own battles, and Samir's like, I want to be an actor, but I was the wrong color. And again, just little moments like that goes to show that, like, for her to be able to do all these amazing things and have this group of guys around her, everyone has their own struggles. Everyone has their own battles that they're facing, like he says. And to be able to rise above that, I think is so important, you know. And that's why, like, even though like when I first came out of the movie, some people thought the whole like message of love was a little cheesy. I think in today's day and age, I think it's important to have a message like that, to believe in love and to kind of, you know. I think it's a really hopeful message. I think much so like the ending of Batman versus Superman. I honestly, like, I think it ends so hopefully, like, you almost want, like, you almost have, like, your faith restored in the human race a little bit from after walking out of that movie.
Yep. Totally agree.
I think what is beautiful about this message is that it tells us that we don't need to overthink how we can save the world. It's very simple. We just have to be kind to each other. That's the message of the entire DCEU.
Yes, very much.
I really love how heroes in the DCEU, they try to fix what they can fix, but also they acknowledge that they can't fix everything in the world. Especially in the moments, all the moments where Diana is encountering humanity, with Charlie or with what you were mentioning earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's just she sees the evil in the world, she acknowledges it, and I don't know. I feel somewhat like she tries to fix everything initially, but it's also this case of you can't fix everything. You also have to trust humans to be able to do it for themselves.
It very much comes down to the same idea, I think, the same message that Jor-El has been talking this whole time since Man of Steel about leading them to a better future and doing your best to influence them along the way, and helping them follow you into the light, which is very much what Diana's doing, because you're right, they can't make everybody do exactly what they want to do. They can't completely obliterate war on this planet. They can't make everybody love one another, but the best they can do is lead by example and hope that they will follow. Yeah. And so,
and that's why even in in the moment following her battle with Ares, when Chief goes over and he hugs that young German soldier to kind of show that they're all they're all human and they're all in this together. Despite the war, there's human beings. It's
exactly. Oh, thank you. I noticed that, and I was I noticed that every time I watch it. I'm like, oh, I love that moment, but then I always forget to mention it when we get here. So glad you brought that up.
I saw on Tumblr that some people pointed very well that Ares took the role of politician in human world. He wasn't a soldier or a commander. He was this person who stands above all simple people and pretty much controls them from above like puppets. And I guess this is the message what war is in general. It's just a game for people that sit high above and trying to gain some selfish goals while using simple people as tools. And
yes, and that's exactly what's reflected in the war room when Diana's in there, and she's like, oh, but all these soldiers are dying, and the general's like, well, that's what soldiers do. It's very, very clear that that's what they do, is sit there and make their decisions, and it affects some smaller people down somewhere, but it doesn't really affect them directly, so they're not that bothered. And of course, Diana let him have it. She lets them have it, and and really makes a good point about where she comes from. Generals fight on the field with their soldiers; they die with them. It should matter that much. They should be that invested, and the death of even one soldier should weigh with them. It shouldn't be just a throwaway thought.
Yeah, and especially when that moment comes after Diana just lost her aunt in a battle where she fought side by side with all of her with their fellow Amazonians, and just and for Diana to see all these guys just sitting behind a desk, throwing around orders. For her, she's like, who are you to give these orders when you aren't even out there on the field with your soldiers?
Exactly.
And yeah, so I agree. It's a very important thing right there. Again, and also what I love about that scene, and just she's not just sitting there on the sidelines listening to them talk. She's even if Steve doesn't like it, she's expressing her own thoughts, and she's again. Saying that generals they fight and then they die with their fellow soldiers, and just of course earlier in the scene where all the generals all shocked to hear that she can understand Ottoman and Sumerian is translating for them, and it's again so many moments like that where again there's a bit of lightness to the scene, but also a little bit of levity too when we see her just being standing up for herself in that aspect.
Yes.
So there's just again so many moments like that throughout the entire movie that I just eat up,
Yeah. They're all really wonderful moments. It's a wonderful movie, and I'm really, really glad to see it do so well and get such attention and get such critical attention, and it's just nice to see it be such a success. It will open doors. It will open new opportunities. that can never be bad, you know. I mean, there might be some misfires along the way, but it's a good thing that people are now starting to pay attention to that and go, you know, okay, so it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't automatically mean it's doomed or that people aren't interested, you know, which really frustrates me. It's like, oh, okay, because all the women are like, sure, we don't need to go to that.
She's a great role model for kids. I think that's
yes.
Yep. I know. I really got my sister into Wonder Woman with this movie, and that's all she can talk about. It's really great.
Awesome.
It's the same thing with my little brother too.
I remember when I took my sister, and obviously I could only watch it once, and I feel really bad because I've watched all of the DC movies 3 times, but I only watched them once in theaters, so I'll make up by buying the Blu-ray as I always do. But because it was during Ramadan and fasting, and it was hard to find time to go to the cinemas and, like, you know, watch a movie and be comfortable with you know, food and not being tired. So I thought, for me personally, and my personal circumstances, it wasn't the greatest time, but we did go and watch it, and she was absolutely ecstatic about it. She loved it, and she was excited, and I remember specifically a point during the movie when we were watching it, and her reaction was really, like, amazing, and that was when Wonder Woman left the trenches and went onto no man's land.
Oh,
she was taking those bullets. And then when Steve and the other people that were with him, Samir and the other 2, I can't remember their names, and when they let her, I mean, it made me feel amazing. But then when I saw her reaction, how she felt and how she reacted towards it, it kind of made me feel like, wow, yes, this new generation has a female superhero to look forward to. And I know this is something that's continuously said, and it's a bit, you know, worn down as a saying, but I mean, it is a great way forward. Katie, I do like the whole love message, but maybe I've been too affected by the world and how crappy it is that I think I have been affected by it too much. But yeah, I mean, it resonated very well with her, and it did with me. But then maybe I'm just too secretive for the dark stuff.
That's okay, you know, that we're all people and we're all in this world, and there's been plenty of times that I'm like, oh my gosh, that was saccharine. So, you know.
Yeah.
A refreshing thing to see, like you said. So I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. And maybe I'll warm up to it in the next few films, because I feel like the Flash movie, whenever that happens, and I really hope they find a director soon, because I'm really excited for that too.
Okay,
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Have a similar tone to it, just like Wonder Woman, and same with Aquaman as well. But I think Aquaman will be more badass, just purely because it's Jason
Momoa, man. You can't avoid it, and I'm down with that, so I'll be there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and I totally get what you're saying too, and especially I think with each of these characters, they kind of bring their own bit of character to each film. Like, obviously with Superman, like, I disagree with this, but the Man of Steel, it had some darker moments and more realistic moments, but I still think it was a pretty light film, and it gave us a look at this newer interpretation of the character. And then, of course, in Batman vs. Superman, that was a little more of like a heavier, and I hate to use the word, but it is a little bit more of a darker story, but it still ends on a more hopeful note. And one of the reasons why, just in general, why I've been a fan of the DCEU is because it's so, even though they have these, like, outlandish characters and costumes and armor running around saving people, the movies are almost like, they feel like they're more than that. They do feel like they can take place in our world, and it's not some, like, where you see technology, and then it's, like, that's, like, super outlandish and, like, futuristic, like you see in certain Marvel movies. Like, you see, like, just everyday people out on the streets, and you see, like, in Wonder Woman, you see, like, the original, you know, World War, and you see this, the heavy effect that the war has on Wonder Woman and the characters in the movie. That just, to me, like, that resonates with me so much more, because you see, like, real reactions. It's not like, it's not a cookie cutter, everything's gonna be fine by the end of it. Like, especially by the end of Wonder Woman, like, Steve, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, but when we see Steve sacrifice himself, to me, like, that, even though I kind of saw it coming, unfortunately, I still felt like emotional in that instance. Like, and again, every time I watch it, I still get emotional just because, like, you believe in why he's doing it, and like, yeah, it's like you don't want to see him die, but you know that someone had to do that. You know, and to have him be the one who was able to stand out and and was able to be like, you know what, like, I have to do this, Diana, I'm sorry, and for him to be like, I love you at the end. I think to me that was one of the most emotionally powerful scenes in the movie. And so for me, in each movie, like I said, like they resonate with me so much more because they feel like real people. They aren't like caricatures or anything like that. I honestly feel like it could take place in our world, and I love that so much.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah. Also, regarding Steve, I just love how DCEU treats supporting cast of these superheroes. They make them equal. They give them equal part of the story.
Yep.
And they pretty much, if you take, for example, Lois Lane from Man of Steel, you can see how the story will fall apart and how Superman's character won't become complete by the end of the movies. And same here with Steve Trevor.
Yep.
And I hope we will see more of that with Iris West, maybe Selena Kyle in possible future, and especially Mera in Aquaman.
Yep.
But I mean, you compare it to I don't know. I hate to bring Marvel into this, but you know, Captain America, like, one that is closest to Wonder Woman, both being wartime movies and both having like teams of people. Like in Captain America, they do introduce the team that he ends up working with as like a bunch of characters, but firstly, they're mostly all men, and like, you know, and not very diverse at that. And like, we get a mention of them, and they're quite funny, but we don't get their stories the way that we get them in Wonder Woman. You know, in Captain America, like, it's an opportunity for like some representation and some quips and some wartime buddies who Steve will miss when he's gone. But we don't get that real sense of that they're real people with real problems, and they don't really serve a purpose in the narrative. Like, for Diana, I really liked how throughout the movie, every single encounter that she had of different humans showed her a different side of humanity. It showed her a different side of like the human struggle of human life. You know, we see like PTSD, we see people with different struggles, we see actors, we see people who find joy in the war, we find people like, you know, like they're not joy in the war, but like sort of like they found their peace with it. Or we find the chief who has like his own history and reasons for not joining the war, and like the conflict between like the white Americans and the Native Americans. And we just get a bit of everything in this movie, and each character serves a unique purpose in accomplishing that goal in order to give like Diana a reason for like loving and understanding humanity so much by the end.
Yep.
You know, like rather than just giving them like a blanket morality or something like that. And like not really building up to it as much.
Agreed. One thing I really liked is how it becomes real clear throughout the film that it's not so simple. You know, like Diana tells Charlie that he fights without honor because he's busy killing people from afar. He can't see their faces, you know. And then as they're going to the front, you know, stuff like that, she talks about how they're going with, you know, liars and thieves and murderers and stuff like that. And Steve points out that he's all those things, you know, like in the time that she's known him, you know, he's killed Germans and he stole a diary and he's, you know, lied because he's a spy, and you know that's what he is. Are you still coming? You know, like it's just not as simple as you know, okay, you're this one facet of a character and that's all you are. We are all 360-degree, full-dimensional people with all sorts of different parts to us, and it's not as simple as being able to look at someone and just judge them straight off from the one thing we know.
Right.
And it was really, really cool the way they did that. And I'll agree with you in terms of just people being included, like, you know, for Steve Rogers, like the main person in his story besides Peggy was Bucky, you know, like, of course.
Right.
And that makes sense because they're setting up that friendship and stuff like that. But I loved how here, like, everywhere they went, they all went together. You know, she goes out into no man's land, but once he figures out she's taking the fire, Steve's like, okay, let's go, you know, which I loved, you know, alrighty then, you know, I guess we're doing this now. And, Like, they head out there, and then watching him and the other three, you know, fight together and work through and follow along in her wake and everything. It's just, I don't know. It really was cool to see their teamwork, to see how it's quite apparent that they worked together before, that they've got kind of a system that works with each other. They know how to make things happen, and they just go and do. And it was, I don't know, it was a really beautiful thing. I agree, to have all those supporting characters and have them be such a full-fleshed personality, and then to see all of their beautiful interactions amongst each other. Because even when Steve says, "I need you to get me on that plane," he goes to run away, and they're like, "What? No!" You know, because they know what he's going to do, and they don't like it, you know. And in the end, they help him accomplish the goal because it's what needs to be done, but they don't like it because they don't want him to die, you know. And in the end, my favorite part of that whole scene is when he is in the plane by himself. Patty said that they just let Chris's acting carry that scene. You know, they didn't get fancy with it, and they did really a beautiful job, because the thing I think that makes me the happiest in that whole scene is when he looks out the window and sees the warehouse burning down below him, and he knows that his guys took care of that other part of the danger, you know, and then he laughs because it's like, okay, my guys did that, awesome, now I just need to do this, and everything's taken care of. Diana's got her part, and we've all done what we needed to do. And the collaboration of that kind of mission and everything, it's just, that was a really, really awesome part of the story for me, and I really appreciated getting to see it. So I loved how they brought everybody in and made them important.
Yeah, every one of them is pretty much shows that you don't need superpowers in order to be a hero.
Yes.
It's like it was in Man of Steel when Clark and Lois cooperated on Zod's ship when she inserted his key and cooperated with Jor-El's AI in order to escape and save Clark.
Yep.
She was very much a hero, just like Superman in that scene.
Yes.
And pretty much all of the supporting cast acts as a hero through inspiration from these superheroes. Like Perry White, he doesn't abandon his co-workers from Daily Planet, even though they are going to die. But he stays with them till the very end.
Yep.
And it is beautiful indeed.
It really is. They do such a wonderful job with that. And just on a side note, I don't want to totally divert too much, but I love that because Jor-El completely trusts her with the secret of how to send them back to the Phantom Zone. You know, I mean, it's not like once she uploads them, he can't go over and whisper Clark's ear, or you know, at the end when he breaks open the side of the ship and, you know, sends him on his way and stuff like that. He can totally tell him how to do it right there, but that's not the point. The point is, I'm going to tell you, and you're going to go ahead and get this to my son because I've got other things to worry about. And the full trust there is just really kind of the coolest thing. I loved how intricate she was in that storyline. It was important that she was there. So, yeah.
And
the way that the history to characters has been amazing and just perfect, and not once has it been sexist. And the way that people have been saying that Zack Snyder has treated Lois Lane as the, you know, girl that always needs saving is completely ridiculous, because Batman v Superman, especially the uncut versions, the director's cut, at first it did, there were parts, especially when she threw the spear into the water, and yes, there were parts that weren't fully in together, but then after you see the complete action, you see how vital she was to the storyline and how amazing she was. And I don't think I've seen any of the female characters in any of the DCEU movies being treated as, you know, sexual or in a way that's derogatory, or as if they're not vital to the storyline. Even in Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn was very vital to showing how her humanity was lost, but it wasn't shown in a nasty way, if you get what I'm saying. It was shown in a very, you know, this has happened, and they've not overly sexualized it, even though she is usually a sexualized character. And I'm trying to think of other female characters that they've been great with. I think all of them have. Viola, Lois Lane, especially Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, they did her in an amazing way, and the way it's continued in the theme, and how Zack Snyder, I know Patty Jenkins was the main person, but you can see how Zack Snyder's touch has been with all of the movies and how it's worked together and how it's woven in well without it being in your face. Like, yes, female superheroes are weak and kick ass, just like you've all mentioned previously. So I think the way that the DCU has managed to portray everything is just amazing. And now I'm sounding like a DCEU stan. But
that's okay.
I mean, we're all stands here, so.
I was gonna say, we should also recognize when things are done well. I see nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely agree with the way that Lois Lane was portrayed. Wonder Woman. Etta Candy, she was really great. I wish I saw more of Etta Candy.
Oh God, I know, me too.
Yeah, I would have loved that.
More of Etta Candy, I would have been.
Oh, she's so awesome.
She's so funny.
I love her.
I know.
She's great.
Yeah. I wish I could have seen more. So if there is by any chance director's cut of this movie, if I don't, I think they've let them do everything they can.
Oh God, I know.
There is, great, and I definitely get it. No doubt.
You know, I'm down with them just giving us an Etta Candy spinoff. I'd totally watch
I know,
that.
me too.
So.
Oh yeah, me too.
Or even like a little like mini series or something like that.
Yeah. See,
Yeah, that would be great too.
she's so much fun. And just in terms of the story, you're right. Like, we didn't get tons and tons of her, and I was left totally wanting more. But what was there was really cool because not only was she beautiful comic relief and had wonderful things to say and kind of helped Diana get, figure out her clothing and this, that, and the other. But then, like, she goes on her way with the sword and the shield and turns around and then suddenly realizes that Steve is really, really being watched and follows along. I mean, that was one of my favorite parts in the whole thing.
Yep.
Is when the German spy gets up to run away and she's like, "Where do you think you're going?" And she's pointing the sword at him. Oh my gosh.
That was awesome.
That was so great.
I want more Etta Candy.
Yeah,
Me
I
too.
loved that with the whole Candy. She was badass with the whole, finding out about the whole shield thing and being followed. But I know they didn't touch upon it a lot, but they did show that she also has her own, morals and her own thing that she's standing up for and fighting for. Yes, she's helping out in war by being a secretary and helping out with, the logistics of the war internally and being there for them in that aspect, but she's also got her own movement and something that she's fighting for that Diana was affected by when she wasn't allowed in the room. So the fact that she was working with the suffragettes, or is it the suffragists? I don't know, because she wasn't the one with the violence. She was like, I don't mind a little bit of violence, but mostly I want to fight for the movement. There was a brief mention from the start.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, but I'm trying to cook up everything in my mind. So yeah, I think that's a great way as well, because it's showing that she also has her own thing going. And that was only from the brief still moments that we've had with her, and I think it's a great addition to the movie, and as well as all the other supporting roles.
Yeah,
Yep.
I completely agree. And it makes me wonder too, because Patty Jenkins hasn't officially confirmed that she's directing the sequel, but she's at least interested. But I mean, I doubt that she's not.
It looks like she will, but
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm really curious as to where they would take the sequel, like if it would be in the modern day or like.
that's what I was wondering too.
Yeah, because especially when you have all of these amazing characters in Etta Candy and Sheaf and Charlie and Samir, like I kind of don't want to give those characters up in a sequel, but at the same time, I would like to see the movie focus on Wonder Woman in the modern day and with everything she's learned and Batman vs Superman and Justice League and everything, where she is right now, on her own. But at the same time, I've come to appreciate all the supporting characters. I don't want to just leave them,
Yes, I agree. I'm give us more.
And you can't really say that about a lot of movies. I don't get too attached to a lot of other characters besides the main one, but this one really did it for me.
Yeah.
I really like all of them.
Bring back Steve Trevor, Bucky Barnes.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Give that to me.
Have you heard that there might be a TV series about Steve Trevor adventures before he ended up on Thematic with Chris Pine?
Is that a rumor? Is that a real thing?
A rumor, yeah.
I would totally watch that.
Me too. I mean, I don't know if Chris Pine would ever do it if they'd recast, but I wouldn't mind. Steve Trevor, I mean, I've always liked his character in the comics and stuff, because he's more or less been the same in most interpretations, but Chris Pine brought so much more to the character than just being another typical white guy love interest, He was so much more than that. He was trying to show Diana, like, he's flawed too. That he's maybe part of why, you know, humanity is so screwed up, but he's still willing to fight to save the day, you know. And I loved his portrayal of the characters. I wouldn't mind if they did some sort of, you know, prequel series. I mean, obviously we kind of talked about it previously. Go ahead.
If this rumor was actually true, it could happen in the way that it isn't a full TV series. It would be like a 3 TV series special. I mean, Benedict, he's a huge star in
Sherlock. Yeah.
Quite a few of the major stars. So I think it's time that I'm doing a 3 special TV series if the rumor does pan out to be true.
Yeah.
And the only way I see a movie happening with Wonder Woman where they can keep the cast but have it more relative to now is if it was World War II, because there would be continuity error or some plot hole or something, because at the end of Batman v Superman, to just say after a century of cars, I stopped after. So I think it was World War I and World War II. She just wanted to be, you know, out of the whole scene. So I don't think you can have her at any time in a movie before Batman v Superman. So it's going to have to be after that.
Yeah.
But I think the next movie, it could be World War II, because World War I and World War II were very close together. So if they do want to do that, but then again, they might be sick and tired of having World War movie settings.
Yeah, I get you.
That's true.
Then I don't know, because I'm happy. Whatever DC throws my way, I will literally buy, watch, take on.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. But that is you
anyway, guys, it's really great, and I do have to go because I have work early tomorrow.
It's nice meeting you.
No, yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us, Fatima. It was really great having you here, and hopefully we'll have you on the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the next episode? Sorry for ruining the continuity of this episode.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what the next subject will be?
I don't know. We usually just spitball. We'll see. As long as you stay within the chat,
I don't think we thought that far ahead.
Mostly like how our schedules are.
Yeah, usually it varies on our schedules and what's in the news or whatever. But we'll see. And then the Comic-Con's around the corner, so there'll be a lot to talk about from there. So yeah, we'll keep you updated with what's going on.
Yep.
Okay. Well, bye.
Bye. Thanks for being here. You know, it's funny, you know, she was bringing up something that I kind of wanted to discuss in the group as well, in that, you know, with Wonder Woman, we do see her in Batman vs. Superman talk about walking away from mankind. One of the questions I have is, you know, at the end of Wonder Woman, I feel like she's more willing to stick around. I mean, she still seems very bothered by, you know, Steve's death and all of that, but we never get a clear-cut answer as, you know, when she does walk away from mankind. So I'm wondering if they'll develop on that a little more.
I hope so.
There's been questions, there's been thoughts about it. I think the one that I ended up coming up with most was, I forget who wrote it. Oh, a really awesome person. Where is it? manofsteelsanswers.com. And his explanation made the most sense to me in terms of the way it was phrased in Batman vs. Superman, where she says she walked away from mankind, and the fact that in the film she doesn't appear to completely be so destroyed or disillusioned by them that she leaves them. And he pointed out, which I hadn't even thought about until he mentioned it. I was like, oh, you're right. But like her whole narration that starts in the beginning clearly takes place after Batman vs. Superman, because she already knows Bruce. He's tracked down the original picture. He sent it to her.
Yep.
And, and then she remembers. We get the whole flash back about her origin story and Steve and everything else. And then after is when she says that she's committed to stay and fight and, you know, and everything like that, still believe in humanity. After she puts down the original picture and then heads off into Paris to handle some issues. Like, he said, it's not that she walked away from them for that entire time period. It's just that she realized she couldn't expect them all to change who they were. And so if she did any helping, she did it on the sly, more Clark Kent style in Man of Steel, where nobody really understood or knew that Wonder Woman, I'm using quote fingers here, was, a thing in their society. She didn't reveal herself. She didn't emerge. So if she helped, it was all behind the scenes, and now she's at the point where, inspired by Superman, inspired by Batman, she's going to come out and say, yeah, I'm here, and I want to help. Mm-hmm. And I was like, holy crap, that makes the most sense to me in terms of continuity and in terms of fitting both films together and her journey. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, this makes sense, because it's not like she turned her back on mankind. It doesn't appear that way after Steve died, and especially after her choice in front of Ares. But it's true. Like, she's never been known. She's not something, this is why the world was so freaked out when they found out that Clark Kent, or, that Superman, is an alien from another frickin' planet. You don't think they'd be freaked out about a demigoddess living out amongst them, full glory? Of course they would. She never revealed herself. She never showed them that she was there. She just became Diana Prince and lived among them and helped out where she could and did it all under the radar. And so that made very good sense to me, and it makes perfect sense with how they talk about how Superman's kind of the signal to everybody to start crawling out of the woodwork. And again, it comes back to him being the center of the DCEU and him revealing himself for what he truly is and saying, I'm here and I have this ability and I'm not from your planet and I want to help, is what gave everybody else strength or courage or motivation or anything else to come out and go, yeah, I'm here too and I want to help. And then, of course, it gave plenty of the bad guys going, yeah, I'm here, but I'm totally going to live for myself, Yep. Mm-hmm. And so that made the most sense to me, and I really, really appreciated his essay. You should read it. It's lovely. Anyway, manofsteelanswers.com. It's just entitled I Walked Away from Mankind Explained. And that worked for me, and I thought that was really beautifully said, and I was like, oh, of course, it all fits together. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. And that's pretty much what I'm going with from this point forward.
Yeah, you're
Until
right.
it could be wrong with some sequel, and I go, man! But that's what I'm going with right now. So.
Yes. It works really well, and also it gives more credit to Lex Luthor, because if she was hiding this entire time, how he could possibly find out about her, because he clearly had some files on her, which shows how smart this guy is, and it explains even better how he scripted the whole plot of Batman v Superman.
Yes.
He made these two heroes fight each other, he alone, and it gives to his intelligence so much credit.
Yes, it does. And in fact, like the files that Bruce was watching that were on Luthor's drive, like has footage of her in Paris, because we were talking about that in the commentary, when we were like, what's she doing in Paris? Well, she deals in antiques, Oh, no, actually, she lives there right now, and, it makes total sense. He's been tracking her. He's been watching her. He's been trying to figure out what gives, I don't know if he's got all the answers, but, yeah, I completely agree.
I really like that scene in Batman v Superman when he called Superman Clark Joseph Kent. It was the moment, like, holy shit, this Lex Luthor is really smart, just like in comic books.
Oh yeah, the jaws drop, we're all like, oh crap. Well, and even
like he knew all along.
Face just falls like, oh, that's way more than anybody should know, and that puts the people I love in danger, this is bad.
And especially because, like, Lex knows the identities of the entire Justice League before they're even the Justice League. And
that's scary.
And then that's also scary. I mean, granted, now at this point, since as far as we know, he's probably in Arkham Asylum at this point, I do wonder what kind of a role he would have, because we know he's coming back for Justice League. I wonder what kind of role he will end up having.
Can't wait. Yeah.
And one thing too, like bringing up, like Wonder Woman and where she's been, because as far as the movie explained and that in Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman or Diana never went back to Themyscira, so I'm assuming she's lived among mankind ever since she left, right?
I would agree, except I do wonder about the fact that her sword was destroyed.
And where she got the new one,
she's
and
obviously
new shield.
got what looks to me like a very Amazonian sword. So either she forged one, she found one that was an old relic in her hunts, or she went back to the island, saw everybody, and got a new one, but decided not to stay. And I honestly can't decide which possibility fits best. So that's just me.
But I mean, she's an antiquity stealer, so she
That's
could possibly
true.
just have found it on her own.
Totally true. Totally
Yeah.
That's true.
But also, one thing because I think I've read in a couple of different places where, like, if we're in the like DC Comics like history, like once you leave Themyscira, you're kind of not allowed to
Can't
come back.
Exactly, and that
So,
was
yeah.
my assumption before the movie came out. And then the way her mom phrased it was, "You may not return." I couldn't decide if that meant you
If that
can't
was
come
concrete,
back,
like-
or you just might get killed, or you know what I mean, like anybody
I know,
else going
that's what
off
I was
to war,
thinking, yeah.
you might not come back. And I honestly, I couldn't decide which way that was supposed to be meant.
Yeah, because I think they left it open because they probably don't want to say concretely, "Oh, you can't come back," because then that means, "Oh, we're not going to see Themyscira again." So, because obviously we're going to see the Amazonians in Justice League, and granted, that's probably more of a prequel to the movie. But also, I think that's them also kind of leaving the door open to if we see the Amazons again, which I feel like we will at some point. I mean, I feel like
I
they're
kind
too.
of hope so, man. They're awesome.
Yeah.
I'm always here for more Amazons. You know?
Mhm. Yeah, because that was
So,
some of
and
my
I
favorite parts
agree.
of the movie
It's
too.
honestly kind of a smart choice not to just slam the door and go, "Oh no, you totally can't," you know, because that does limit your choices.
Yeah, and again, I'm just curious what Diana has been doing these last 100 years. I mean, and I don't think we're ever going to get a full explanation, but I think we're going to get an idea. Obviously, we know she's been an antiques dealer for at least the last few years.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like if she's retained this Diana Prince persona this entire time, like does she like move from place to place and still maintain that identity, or what does she do? Because obviously, if you saw someone with the same name and not age throughout your entire lifetime, I would be like,
No, I agree. I think
Something-
she would have to move around.
Yeah.
You know, like
Like, very
and
much
it would
so
be
like
more,
Clark
it would
and Man
be
of
very
Steel.
much like Clark Kent in the end, to where she can't stay in one place too long
Without
or her
raising-
secret will be out. And, you know, so, which explains why, you know, heck, maybe she started taking up residence in London first after the war and enjoyed her time
Maybe.
there and then moved on, you know, and that's why she's in Paris and she's been to lots of other cities in between. Who knows, you know, so, yeah.
And it's funny, now that I think about it more, too, when going into Wonder Woman's characterization and what we see in Batman versus Superman, like, at that point, you know, she still had, like, at the end of Wonder Woman, like, at that point, she still had, you know, Etta and Samir and Chief and Charlie. But now, of course, in the present day, they've all been dead for decades. So now, like, who does she have to really confide in? Who does she have to share her life experiences with besides Bruce Wayne? Really no one at this point. So the more I think about it, the more I can see, more so now than before, why maybe she was more detached from mankind now that she's like her emotional tether to, you know, her past into mankind is kind of done, and now it's just kind of existing here, not necessarily like living a life worth living in her eyes, you know?
Yep, I completely agree. It's gonna cut her off from humanity more. She's going to feel more alone, even though she's living amongst them. So, totally agree. Now, we've also heard the rumors that Chief is, I forgot the name.
It's Nappy, I think, or
demigod
Nappy?
named
Demigod,
Yeah, a
Navi?
Blackfoot demigod. Yeah, because I guess because that brief
which
conversation,
is totally cool.
Yeah.
And I would love to see that, you know, brought in and them to bring him back again and show that he also is ageless. But I also don't think that suddenly they're just gonna never part ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they're both immortal like that, they're not gonna just cling to each other. In the end, they have their own things to do, their own things to accomplish.
Yeah.
They're gonna move out and go into the world, and they'll definitely cross paths and see each other. But they're not gonna be BFFs who never leave each other's side. So they're still gonna have that isolation, that alone quality.
Yeah. And I thought that was such an awesome thing to do to add to Chief's character. Because I remember reading that, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Because they don't translate that conversation with any subtitles or anything.
It's so cool.
Yeah, and then the actor comes out and said, "Oh no, like in that conversation, I revealed that I'm the Blackfoot demigod. I don't know the proper pronunciation, but it's like Napi or Napi or something along those lines. I know the spelling is Napi, but I think that's so cool and again, bringing more diversity into and more intrigue into that character, making him a little more layered and more than just what he is on the surface.
Yes. That was very exciting to me. I was like, that is so cool.
and they didn't have to do that, and they added that in. I think it adds something to Chief's character. Again, makes him a hell of a lot more interesting, and makes you want to know more about his character. And that's why, like, I don't want, again, like I don't want to abandon these characters.
Yep, I completely agree. Totally agree. I would like to see more of all of them. And, you know, the humans, I know that they age and I know that they can't be around forever, but I'm not ready to let go yet because I really love them. So even having one be not human is like, okay, you know, I will take whatever you can give me.
I'll take it.
You know, it's funny. One thing I also want to bring up, too, is do you guys think in the sequel, whether it's a modern day or still in the past, do you think we'll ever see the Greek gods again, or Zeus, or anyone from Diana's lineage, besides other than the Amazons, of course?
You know,
and maybe in a flashback. I hope that they don't try and go back on their word and the idea that all of them are dead. Because I don't know, it feels like a bit of a cop-out.
Yeah, I kind of felt that a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it would not fit with the whole Gods Among Us theme that we're doing right now, where they're creating a world so like ours and exploring the idea of what super-powered beings or immortals or demigods or anything like that, you know, would be on this earth and how we would react to suddenly resurrect Zeus and, you know, all the other gods and stuff like that. That would be weird. And I think it would fly in the face of what they're trying to do. And in other, well, I mean, that in the perspective that it is now, it really does kind of suggest that after that war, and they all died except for Ares and Diana, who was, you know, a child left in protection. Like, really, that is very much when humans were kind of on their own, and they have been for a really long time. And this is the world they've created, and so it would be weird to have them suddenly bring them back. I admit. But a flashback would be great.
No, I mean, like, if they were going to bring any of the gods back, I feel like they would find some loophole as to Zeus surviving. But I just would like to see a little more of, you know, like, Diana's ties to them. Because, of course, like, I knew going in she was going to be the daughter of Zeus, because Charles Robin confirmed that, like, a few years ago. But even, I'm still so interested in just this whole Greek mythology. That's why when we saw like that visual storytelling mechanism of Hippolyta, you know, like, explaining the history of the gods and their impact on humanity, and then Ares killing them all and the Amazonians being enslaved and all that stuff. I thought that was so interesting, and I want to see more of that. And again, this movie, again, like what I've said before, this movie leaves you wanting so much more than what was just there. You know, it's not like it was a standalone, like it's not like it was a one and done. Like obviously they're setting up for future stories, but also like when they like showed certain things, of course, with you know, the history of the gods and all that stuff. And Amazon, I want. Like, if I were to have a prequel, like, I think I would want a prequel of the gods creating the Amazonians and their whole history, and
that'd be cool.
I think that'd be pretty awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yep, that would be cool.
That's why I think, go ahead.
I was thinking that we might discuss, you know, the whole conclusion of Wonder Woman, how she summarized pretty much everything what DCEU was about, that all of us have both sides, both dark and light, and it's to us to choose what we want to be, what we can be, what we can aspire to be. And it's pretty much what Jor-El also said in his dialogues with Kal-El. And you can see this theme being brought up in every single movie. Suicide Squad, it's a bunch of evil guys who still have some goodness in them. And through the movie, you see them choosing this goodness inside of them and doing the right thing when it's necessary. Same goes for Batman. Batman was consumed by darkness, and yet he still found a way back to goodness. And it's pretty much what DCEU is about, and I love how Wonder Woman summarized all of it in this one sentence at the end.
Yes, I completely agree.
And it's funny, that's why I think Wonder Woman, the more I look at it, the more I see so many like thematic parallels to each, you know, of Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, and just, again, like, so much of her story and what the movies are trying to convey. I think Wonder Woman and Man of Steel, I think, are the most similar. And I think we've talked about this in the past, but again, I see so much of like the message, like I feel like the messages in Wonder Woman and Batman vs. Superman are very similar, and just believing in hope for humanity, and, you know, men are still good, and that like they're still good in humanity. And then looking at Man of Steel and like this origin story of this like godlike being, and what their look at humanity is, and where they are by the end of the movie, and standing with humanity. I think that's why think Zach is so pivotal in these stories because he was able to weave all of these, you know, thematic elements in each film. Granted, Wonder Woman wasn't his film and that was Patty, but you could see his influence there in the story and what, you know, the message is trying to convey. I think with his input, I think the DCEU is such a beautiful story from film to film. That's why I can't wait till November when we finally see Justice League and all what this universe is kind of building up to. I can't wait to see all these characters and to see what stories are on the table for Aquaman and Cyborg and the Flash. I can't wait to see that. I think
Aquaman might be the most close to be similar to Man of Steel and Wonder Woman because he's
definitely.
I feel that way too.
Half human, half Atlantean character who he consists of multiple cultures and he's also kind of an alien to people.
Yeah.
And I am also excited for Cyborg movie because I always love this science fiction theme of can machine be a human, and I hope Cyborg will be all about that.
Yeah, and I still think it's kind of funny that they cast one of the guys from Terminator 2 to be Cyborg's father, Silas Stone.
Yeah.
Like the guy who ultimately created Skynet in the Terminator films was the guy who's the father of Cyborg. I thought that was kind of funny. Again, like, you know, it's funny, like, Cyborg is the one movie I thought, like, oh, like, of all the characters in the Justice League, I was, like, because he's the one with, other than what I've read in the New 52 and seen in the Teen Titans cartoon series, I was on Cartoon Network a number of years ago, I don't know too much about his backstory, so I don't know, like, what villains he has as his own standalone character and what he brings, but...
Yeah, true, I don't either.
But at the same time,
does he even have his own solo comic?
Yes, he does. In Rebirth, he currently has his own comic. I heard it was good, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it either. Like right now, for me, currently, I've only read like Superman and Action Comics,
the Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I still think that we're gonna get an awesome character, and I think because Ray Fisher, he's been it's like. I don't know if you follow him on social media, but he's so
he's
hyped,
so excited about it. It's so great.
I know, like, he was like a Broadway actor, and I think he's like looks wise and the way he sounds. I don't think they could have gotten a better choice for Cyborg. I think he embodies what Cyborg is supposed to be, and he's so excited for it.
Like, here's the thing about all the DCEU casting, right? You know, people always say that Marvel, like, they must have grown all their actors in tubes because they're so perfect with their characters. But for DCEU, I don't know. It's not that they're perfect, but it's that we found, like, the most passionate fans of DC, of the characters, and got them to play those roles. And so they just throw in 110%. And it's just amazing, right? You know, Amy Adams having auditioned for Lois Lane like 3 times. Almost getting Superman the last time around. Ben Affleck's been a Batman fan his whole life.
Yeah. He had his own Batcave.
And you get these like incredibly dedicated, passionate fans playing.
And you can see it on screen too, so that's really amazing.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. I remember there's like Jason Momoa was at some like fan convention, and a fan was talking about the DC movies, and I think this is before it came out that he was going to be Aquaman, and they're saying how, and it was, I think we've all seen this on Tumblr at some point, where the guy is kind of like, oh, I think DC, you know, like, fucked up in Man of Steel a bit, and it's like, whoa, what, you got a problem with my boy?
Yes, I saw that. That was so great.
My favorite.
And I love all of these characters and all these actors because you can tell like they're fans of the characters, and they're not just like here to take a paycheck. You know, like it is more to them than that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, some of them go around and read the comics and keep up with it, which is really great.
Yep. And even like Margot Robbie in Suicide Squad, she like became Harley Quinn in a way that like. She embodied everything Harley Quinn, I think, was supposed to be. Every bit of DCEU casting, even if like Jesse Eisenberg was so far like the one person I was like, okay, he wasn't my first choice, but I see what he'll bring, and he ends up being, I think, one of my like, I still teeter between him and the Lex Luthor from Smallville, but he's one of my favorite interpretations of Lex because it's so different and he stands out so far above all the different interpretations because he brings something different to the table in his performance, and that he gives us such a more layered and complicated villain, and he's not just like here just to stop Superman just because he thinks Superman's bad. Like there's so much more to Lex Luthor than that.
Yes.
Right.
And I think the same thing is there too with Ares. Like Ares, I've only ever seen Ares in terms of his character in Injustice video game for the first one. Other than that, I wasn't too familiar with him as a villain to Wonder Woman. But I think what they did with him in Wonder Woman, I think we've kind of talked about how some people think he's cheesy and stuff. I still think he's continued the trend of great DCEU villains, and that he says he's very much so not necessarily the god of war, but the god of truth in his own eyes, and that he sees humanity for who they really are, and he's kind of fanning the flames of humanity in that aspect. He's bringing out the worst in them and what they're already bringing themselves. He's not making them inherently bad. They're already bad. He's just making those. He's just encouraging them in that aspect. He's encouraging them to be the worst. Yep. And that's why he's so. I love what each villain in this universe has brought to the various films, and especially in Wonder Woman. Ares could have been you could have had Ludendorff be Ares, and he could have been this very cookie cutter villain that Wonder Woman stops at the end of the day. But no, but the fact that he portrayed himself to be an advocate for peace and to try to create this armistice that he knows humanity won't end up agreeing on, and that he sees all these faults in humanity, and he's passing himself off as this kind of weakened older guy who you think is a good guy. But again, there's so many more layers to him, and that and the fact he's trying to get Diana to see his side, and he's and there's the fact they're siblings, and there's so much more to the Ares character than I think is what some people see. I loved Ares as a villain so much.
I completely agree.
I like that these villains, they have this a personal side to their motivation. Ares is jealous of people because Zeus started loving them more than his own children, other gods.
Yep.
And same goes for Lex. He literally told his reasons on the rooftop that when he was a kid, there was nobody to stop his father from bullying him. And once this Superman character appears, suddenly everyone worships him. And Lex came to the conclusion that you can either be good but not all-powerful, or all-powerful but not be. And I liked it a lot that these characters have these very personal moments that you can kind of relate to.
Yes, and I agree about the personal moments. For me, helps them to become not just cookie cutter, or not just, yes, it's the villain of the week, with a similar thing. When I was a kid, I swear every cartoon was, and then we'll take over the world. That was just every super villain's motivation, and they were so interchangeable, it was kind of embarrassing. They were cartoons, and I was a kid, so I'm probably generalizing, but that's honestly what it felt like. And these ones, I don't feel like they're interchangeable. Each one suits the hero that they're opposing. They have personal moments, personal reasons why they're doing it. You know, they do believe in what they're doing, for right or for wrong. And I don't know, they just seem a little bit more individual, and I really, really appreciate that, because they need to be. I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to bash Marvel all the time. I'm not, but I admit, the one thing I didn't like about the original Captain America movie, Steve was great. I had no problem with Steve. Peggy, great, this movie, great. But the villain was just, he did nothing for me. He did nothing at all for me. And I remember even thinking, wow, this dude is just, he's just one-dimensional and really lame. And unfortunately, with a little bit of degree of difference, there's been a couple that stick out to me that actually work. Most of them are that way. There's just not much to them. And I don't know. They lack that individuality. They lack that personal touch. I don't know. They just seem pretty basic and pretty interchangeable. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's funny because I had a guy who commented on our previous episode, and he was bashing us for criticizing the MCU so much and how we're so biased and all this stuff, and it's we're not we do find enjoyment in the Marvel movies. Don't get us wrong. We're not here to just bash Marvel all day. That's not what we're here to do.
I'm so sorry if it sounds like that.
Oh no, you're very civil about it.
The podcast about DC, so we're not just gonna talk about it.
And the one thing too is that the DC films have gotten so much hate over the last few years.
Exactly.
you know, like, and the Marvel movies are pretty much universally praised by a lot of people, and we just, like, and again, we're not hating these films or saying they're awful. We're just, we're comparing.
We're a bit confused as to how that is so when, you know, it's like, but look at all this great stuff over here. Why are you bashing on these films again? Yeah, it gets, it's weird.
Yeah, and again, I still find enjoyment in their movies. Like, I've enjoyed the last few movies. There are just things in them that I noticed that I just happen to not like, and like, and I think even a lot of fans of the MCU, I think they'll even agree that like their villains have probably been like their weakest problem or their biggest problems.
That's been kind of a universally acknowledged thing for a long time now. You know, yeah, but. And I won't say that, you know, that they all are terrible for me. It's just that certain ones, there just doesn't seem to be much to them. Yeah. You know, like, you know, in the second Thor, the you know,
the elf,
you know, it was like, wow, there's just not much here. Okay. You know, I mean, it's okay. That's just what it is. But, you know, and they make it more about the hero that way. But I do love a good villain who actually feels real, you know, and who doesn't feel indispensable or interchangeable with other ones. You know, he has specific reasons for what he's doing, which is why, honestly, in the first movement of the first Marvel stage before Avengers came out, I was totally late coming to it. I don't know where it was, but I wasn't paying attention. So I like watched Avengers and was like, hey, that's cool. And then started backing up and watching everything else, you know, so I totally came at it backwards. But at the same time, when I watched all of them, they were all good. You know, I had no problems with any of them. They were good movies, and I enjoyed them. But I admit, like, my favorite character now is Steve Rogers. I love Captain America.
Me too.
I think Winter Soldier is the best movie.
Then it was Thor, simply because that had the best story for me. I really appreciated the fact that he had this brotherly relationship with Loki, and that Loki's true heritage, you know, kind of came out, and that he was torn by this, and that it created some problems, and that, you know what I mean, that actually worked for me. I was like, that's really cool. So that was by far my favorite movie of the first stage. And of course, then the second one came out, and it was like, wow, you just went ahead and made Dad like the worst dad on the planet, even though in the very first film, you know, he's like, Loki says, who am I? And he says, you're my son. You know, that was such a beautiful moment, you know, when he says that. It doesn't matter what you are. It doesn't matter what you were born as. You are my son, you know. And then they show the flashback and how kind his face looked as he looked at the small baby and realized that he had nobody. And it was like, I'll just take him with me. You know, what a beautiful thing. And then they just undid all of that and made him this real punk who basically hated Loki and always has since, like, the second he brought him home. Why'd you even bring him home then? You know, like, unfortunately, some of the sequels have undone some of the things that I really enjoyed in the first place. And unfortunately, it's entirely possible, just because that's the nature of the beast, that the DCEU will do this over time, too, as they get into their later stages. I really hope they don't. I acknowledge that that's a possibility. So, you know, give me 5 years, and I might be saying, you know, I really love this about the DCU, but unfortunately, I can see problems here, here, and here. You know, it's not that I have such an amazing bias, but right now, these are what's doing it for me. And Marvel isn't. I'm so sorry. I'm not trying to bash on it, you know, and I try hard not to be biased. It's just that those are things that I came up with long ago before I even watched DCEU movies and went, holy crap, look at all this great stuff they're doing, you know. So, you know, I'm sorry for my opinions, but that's what they are. Yeah. You know, and I'm not going to change them if you're upset about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that was greatly worded, too. And it's funny because, like, again, for, like, me, myself, for the longest time, I loved Marvel movies, and I still enjoy the original Marvel. And like Phase 1 were like Iron Man 2, maybe not so much, but the first Incredible Hulk. I really enjoyed Thor. I really enjoyed Captain America.
That one, and I need to see that one. Yep.
Yeah, I think the Incredible Hulk.
I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I had a good time at that.
Guardians of the Galaxy is fun.
So much fun. You know,
and even the new one, I really enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Like, that one was fun. Again, like, these movies, again, like, I find enjoyment in each film. Granted, but like, when I notice problems, I'm like, yeah, like, there are problems, so that's why I don't necessarily, like, love them like I used to, but I still find enjoyment. Like, I enjoyed Captain America Civil War. I think it was a little overhyped and wasn't what I wanted it to be necessarily. And granted, I walked in with certain expectations, and that's my fault, but there were certain things in that movie. I thought there was a little too much Iron Man, a little, like again.
I wanted a Cap movie. That's what I wanted. It was supposed to be a Captain America movie. I'd like a Cap movie, please. You know, so I agree. It felt like a second Avengers.
It did, and that's not a bad thing, but like, it should have been called Avengers Civil War and not Captain America. It was.
Yeah, and that would have done it, because in the end, what I really wanted was an in-depth movie about Captain America
and where he stands.
But
instead, I feel like
now, and now that he knows the truth, because Winter Soldier built it up to that point so beautifully.
It did.
That movie freaking rocks.
I love that movie. That's the one
And
MCU movie to this day. No matter what, I love that movie. I love the Winter Soldier so much.
And so I'm so sorry if it sounds like I'm constantly bashing on him, but we as DCEU fans have had really a hard time since Man of Steel.
Yep.
Like since what, 4 years ago?
Yep, 4 years ago.
Having to constantly defend why we think these movies, or even that movie to start with, was good. And it gets confusing, and we get a little bit reactionary. We are humans, sorry, but we are, and when the world seems to spend all of its time purposely going after the movies that we love and implying that they're horrible, and then
when they're not,
other things, that are flawed but still good, and acting like they're the pinnacle of all comic movies. Sorry, we've been dealing with this a long time. We're a little bit battle scarred.
Yep.
We're a little bit war torn, and we're tired. So I'm so sorry if it comes off as us being biased, but in the end, we've seen so many arguments that's what comes to mind now when we start talking about the things we do love. Is like, okay, but why, are people still talking about how, well, it sucks because this and this and this, and Marvel's awesome because of this, this, and this. This is what comes out. Sorry, but, I'm not going to say you made us this way, but I am going to say we've been through a lot of battles now, and you start looking for the battle before it happens because you're just used to it coming.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've kind of like lost patience right at this point. Like, back when I first started out, like every time somebody said that they hated DCEU or something like that, then I would feel the urge to go and like debate with them and try to engage them and try to change their mind. Right. But right at this point, I'm so tired that like even when we have the prime opportunity where everyone is suddenly reevaluating because of Wonder Woman, or they'll be like, oh, because Wonder Woman is the only good movie of the DCEU, maybe it'll get better from here or something like that. It's the same kind of thing that I would want to argue with someone about, but I'm just so tired at this point. And the minute someone sees something like that, I just kind of walk out of the room.
Yeah, no. They always argue the same arguments. It's not even different anymore. It's the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, it's
unoriginal.
You don't even try to tell us why you don't like it. You just spit out all these same things that don't make sense. And I was just like, I'm not going to argue with you.
Yeah, it's not worth it. So
what is said about MCU for me is that lately these movies stopped taking themselves seriously. Like, in Doctor Strange, for example, when Strange encounters Dormammu, who is supposed to be this multidimensional, very dark and scary villain, you laugh during this final confrontation between Strange and Dormammu, where you're supposed to be afraid of this villain. You simply laugh, and the movie makes you to do so. And the last time I remember when Marvel MCU was taking itself seriously was Winter Soldier. Yeah. But I think it was only because it was a Hydra story, and you can simply make fun of something like that.
Oh well, I mean, they've made a mockery of it in the comics now, so
yeah, they've taken Hydra. Possible. Yeah, again, we're not here to bash Marvel. Again, it's just
not. And it gets old.
Yeah, we're just tired of the hate towards DC, so that's why we do get defensive about the DCEU, because ever since Man of Steel, we've had to come out and to defend it. And we can't even sit here and enjoy it without someone coming in and saying how much it sucks, or I made a video last year called "In Defense of Zack Snyder," and so many people jumped in saying how stupid I was for defending Zack and how awful he was and blah blah blah. And I just made a video saying how much I love the guy. What is so wrong with that? What is so wrong with me? It's so frustrating, and I get it's stuff like that that makes why we're so defensive, because we can't even make a positive post or video or whatever without there being some sort of hate from some random troll online who just wants to be a dick. And it's
every time too. It's kind of amazing. It's like clockwork now. Do you know how many people I've blocked for their retarded comments that they just got to jump in and be a wank? And it's like, I'm sorry, the beauty and joy and the uplifting quality it gives me to be like, wow, you'll never see another comment of mine again, and I'll never see you again. You're blocked, because honestly, I don't have time for your crap anymore. You know, and I'm sorry, but if you're gonna listen and then get upset at us for having opinions, this is a DCEU appreciation podcast. I'm not entirely sure where you think you're gonna come in and we're gonna be, you know, praising Marvel left and right, because we're here for the DCEU. Yeah. Now, I admit, I don't like Marvel people who want to spend their time bashing DC either, and I try not to do that. But there's gonna be comparison, and if you don't like it, I'm terribly sorry. Go find another podcast that is, you know, perfectly
Marvel
even
censored.
and divides time between DCEU and Marvel. Oh wait, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. If you find it, please give me a link, because I don't ever see it. It's one or the other.
Besides, we constantly say that we actually like MCU, just not as much as DCEU.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
I
not like
kinda-
we're throwing shade.
I know.
I kind of wish that Marvel remembered how to be Blade and the Hulk by Ang Lee. Remember these movies? I think this was the time when Marvel rocked for me, and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is still my favorite trilogy about the character.
I did really enjoy that one.
Hey, I really enjoyed it too. And again, it's just so frustrating when, as a fan, you can't even sit here and enjoy the things you want without someone bashing them. And if you're a Marvel fan listening to this, again, we do enjoy the movies. Again, we're not here to bash them, but again, if you're here to hear praise about Marvel, you're in the wrong place.
Yes, exactly. We're here praising the DCEU.
And if you have a problem with us praising the DCEU, find someone else, because obviously we're not going to agree, and there's going to be some problems. So you can find your other opinions elsewhere. Like, it's
don't cause yourself that kind of stress. It's not worth it. We're not worth it. You know, we're not that amazing that you just got to listen and be like, man, these guys suck. If you don't enjoy listening to us, don't do it. It's fine. Go find something else you enjoy. It's all good. Find the happiness. You know, don't worry about us if you don't like what we're saying. It's cool.
Yeah, and that's the one thing too, like, about the DCU. That's why I've been able to resonate not even just with the DCU, but with the fans so much. Like, ever since Man of Steel, like, I made my blog initially just because, like, at the time I didn't have anyone else to really geek out about Man of Steel with. So I made the blog, and I'm like just posting Man of Steel stuff, and like I found some people who I still follow to this day. And the fan, like ever since, like, you know, the Man of Steel positivity tag and like all that stuff, and then like Batman, all of us fans, I feel like we all are positive together, and we're all in this together. Not to sound cheesy, but it's true. Like,
it's true.
We've stuck through all of this crap, and with the hate from Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, that now that, you know, Wonder Woman is getting so much praise as it is, like, it is nice to have a DCEU movie doing well critically and all that stuff, but of course, again, it's just giving us more things to defend, because now people come in saying, like, oh, this is the first good DCEU movie, so again, the other one sucks so much, and blah, 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 blah. But also, I have seen some people who loved Wonder Woman who didn't necessarily see the previous movies, who are now like, oh, hey, like, I liked her in Batman vs Superman. The movie was okay, and people like are going back to the previous movies because of Wonder Woman, and that's cool, and that's awesome, and that's all we could ask for. Like, hey, like, more discussion, and that's like my whole thing about, like, even like before I was even talking about the DCEU, or when I was just early on making videos, like, my whole thing was just create a civil discussion. I don't care if you hate the movie or whatever. Just be a civil human being, and just express your opinions without being rude and disrespectful. Like, we can have a discussion and disagree. That's fine. Art is subjective, and we aren't going to see the same thing. We don't have to see the same thing. You don't have to love what I love. I don't have to love what you love. But be civil about it, and just be able to be in an atmosphere where you don't have to be a dick. You don't have to be rude or mean or anything. Just be just a normal human being and have a conversation. That's all I want to be able to do. And again, you can love the DCEU, you can hate it. I don't care. If you want to talk about it, how much you don't like it, and be civil about it, that's great. That's fine. We can do that. But don't come in here and insult us or insult the DCEU just because you prefer something over another. First of all, you're in the wrong place for it, and it makes you look like a dick.
Or the directors, especially Zack. He gets the most hate, and it's not fair for him.
No, it really it's not. And you know what?
It makes me so mad.
I was going to say, we're quite defensive of Zack. So if you want to bash him, you're in the wrong place. Please move on, you know. We are not going to go, oh, you're totally right, he sucks. We're never going to. We decided what side of the battle we were on a long time ago. We're not changing sides now. So if you don't like it, that's cool. But, you know, don't come on and be busy bashing our directors, especially him. Because, we have very much of a soft spot for him. He doesn't deserve the crap he gets. And we're quite passionate about
after everything he's been through this year.
Go ahead. I just recently discovered that it was pretty much thanks to Wonder Woman part that Gal Gadot stayed in this business.
Yep.
Didn't know it until recently.
Like Zach
I think it was same for Henry with Superman.
And I think Zach even did that in, from what I read from Sucker Punch and Emily Browning. She was ready to give up, and Zach convinced her to do this part, and she had a lot of fun with it, and she really enjoyed Zach as a director. And, like, that's the thing, too, is, like, people trash Zack Snyder, but everyone who's worked with him, they don't have to praise him. There are people who have come out of projects and said, you know, I didn't like working with that director, but I haven't heard a single actor come out of these movies and criticize Zach. None of them have.
They all loved working with him.
Yes, well, and Amy Adams was completely honest about a film she did where the director made her cry practically every day, and she would never work with him again. You know, it's not like they're just keeping their mouths shut because they're worried about future business. You know, she was really honest about it. You know, didn't like it, won't ever do that again. You know, and then she talks about how it hurts her to watch the media rag on Zach and to watch him get so beat down because he's such a gentle and good person, you know. And it's like, well, there you go. You know, I mean, the truth right from Amy Adams, you know, Lois Lane gives us the truth again. You know, he's not a bad person, and I really would appreciate if people would back off him. And I cannot remember is it Emily Browning?
Yep.
From Sucker Punch, all I remember is how she talked about how she was ready to be done until, you know, she was directed by him, and the respect that was there, the way he treated her, stuff like that, made her feel, okay, maybe I could stay in this business a little bit longer, you know. I mean, I'm sorry, I know way bigger wankers that get a lot less hate that are directors, so you might want to reevaluate your priorities a bit.
It kind of reminds me of George Lucas, because people love him for original Star Wars trilogy, but they really hate him for what he did with prequel trilogy. And I just don't get it. I mean, the same guy gave you Star Wars in general, and yet you hate him for giving you more Star Wars. And I saw some people that love previous Zack Snyder's works, but they hate him for DCEU exactly.
Really?
So, I just don't
That's
get it.
crazy.
Some people love Watchmen, but they hate DCEU.
Okay. Well, that's a new one. I did not know that. All right, then. I don't know. Everybody's allowed their opinion. It's totally cool. But, you know, we're going to express our opinions. And if you want to go and battle all those people who don't share your opinion exactly, you've got a long fight ahead of you. So it's easier and better to find those people who you typically agree with and spend your time, you know, getting excited with them instead of finding all the ones who don't agree and going to battle, you know.
Yeah, there's far better things to do with your time.
Just waste their time being so negative in movies. It's not fun.
Yeah, and again, like, what does it really make you feel better at the end of the day if you're that type of person? Like, really, like,
I don't know.
Like, what does it take? More out of you just to be kind and respectful? Like, again, like, Zack Snyder made a movie you didn't like. So what? Don't go attacking the guy saying he deserves to die, deserves to get fired, deserves all this stuff going on.
It's awful.
The man, he's a kind human being. Maybe he made a movie you didn't like, whatever. He doesn't deserve any of the hate he gets. You know? And it's so, again, it's just frustrating as a fan because we the DCEU fans we've all had to deal with this for a long time.
Yeah, I think we have, and it's starting to boil over because I think like every podcast we've had a small session like this at the end. So can you guys understand like how big this is? You know what I mean? We have spent way too much time dealing with this amount of crap. You know, if you don't like the pushback from it, don't provide it. You know, it's really okay. We're tired. You know, it's boiling over now. We're really, really sick of the crap. So, by all means, move on and find some happiness in your life. It's okay.
Yeah, then thank you. And this, like, the reason why I want to do this podcast is because I wanted to find some fans who shared like these positive thoughts on the DCEU. Again, we don't have to love every aspect of it, but just again talk about it in a civil manner so we can all have a fun time. And I feel like, speaking for myself, I love doing this podcast with you guys. You guys are all awesome and intelligent and kind people, and you guys why can't other people be like that? You know?
Yeah. And we can disagree with each other. We have disagreed with each other, but there's no need to get into a name-calling fest. You know, we don't need to sling mud. It's fine. We all have our opinions. That's cool. You know, in the end, we agree ultimately that we enjoy these films. Cool.
Again, I say this week after week, but seriously, like, thank you guys for coming on and doing this, because, like, No, and again, I'm
Thanks for
not.
having me.
No, it's us, like you guys say some really intelligent things, like things that like I don't think I have the mental capacity to even say out loud.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And like I said, I can't, like, my friends are fans of these movies too, but not so much like I am. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna
not
go
to
now.
this degree.
Exactly.
It's true.
All right, so I know Jan has to go. So I mean, unless you guys want to talk about anything else, I've pretty much said all I needed to say for at least.
I think we've done great.
No, this episode's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to go in depth on Wonder Woman and
one day.
Yeah, totally worth
Yeah, we
waking up.
actually had
You know, there is one weird moment in Wonder Woman movie. I don't know if you noticed this when that German commander and Dr. Poison, they trap those other German generals and poison them. They shared a laugh between each other like they were some Scooby-Doo villains.
yeah, that was a little cheesy.
Really out of place.
Yeah, that was the one moment. At least I can say I agree. That was the one moment I was like, okay, that was a little hokey.
That was a bit of a hokey, you know. I will admit, and I'm so sorry if I sound like a weird little prude, but I totally don't need to see Chris just holding his hands over his, area while the whole camera, like the whole time, like, he stands up and she walks in and I'm like, anybody in their right mind would sit back down, it's just like, oh, didn't see you there, can you go now so I can get dressed, but instead he just stands there and I'm like, there's no way, unless he wants her to look, that he's not gonna sit down. And then I'm like, okay, I can handle this. The camera cuts to his belly, not fair. We all know what's happening, but I can deal with this. And then the camera zooms back and I go, oh, gosh, dang it, you guys, I don't need to see this. Thank you. So we all have moments that, it's like, oh, I didn't need that, But in the end, I'm not going to come out and go, well, that movie just totally sucked. They didn't do it exactly how I wanted it, So, yeah, we all have issues that was like, I don't know if I'd keep that if that was me. But you know what? If it's not me, it's not my movie. Okay.
Yeah, and again, that one like little cheesy moment for me was just all I had in terms of like somewhat big problems in the movie. Because again, like I walked out of it really enjoying it, and again, I haven't like I'll be honest with my problems with certain moments in the DCEU. Like Suicide Squad is currently like my least favorite. Like I find a lot more problems in that movie than the other ones, but I still find enjoyment in it. Like me and Katie did the commentary a few weeks ago, and we both had a lot of fun going back and looking at that movie.
I just had great fun. I just like to watch that movie and laugh. I love that movie. I mean, just for like you're right. It's like I just want to sit here and watch these characters. This is good stuff. So yeah, we had a great time.
Yeah, and again, like week after week, it's just fun talking to you guys. I really look forward to doing this podcast with you guys every week.
Yeah, me too.
It is fun.
It's fun.
And I'm glad we were able to get pretty much everyone in today too. That was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Great.
I just hope that Justice League new trailer is real. It will happen, and we will have a lot to discuss after that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a trailer for Comic-Con, so we'll definitely be talking about that.
We're gonna dissect that thing within an inch of its life.
That's gonna be a long episode. That's gonna be a long episode.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Yeah, so I think with that being said, I think that's probably gonna be it from us. Again, if you guys want to go around and kind of tell everyone where they can find you online.
Well, my name is Artem, and you can find me on Tumblr by Greg Unwall.
Yeah, I'm Lily from Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr.
Go ahead, Jan. Did she go?
Jan,
she might have gone. Okay. I'm Katie, and I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr. Don't come at me with your non-hate. I will simply block you. Love you.
All right, and of course, you guys
try to be positive.
And then you guys can find me just here on Nerdy Nick and True Man of Steel on Tumblr with all these great people. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for joining me for this podcast. It's always a lot of fun. And I'll talk to you guys soon, and thank you guys for listening. Until next time, everyone have a good one.